All right, so I'm going to tell you about something that happened years ago, over 10 years ago. We're sitting around partying in a house I used to have a roommate with, and it's like 2:30 in the morning. We're sitting around, we're all drunk and high and shit, and having a good time. But so I decided to pose a question to the group, just see what kind of answers come out. So the question the question was, if you could own any animal in the world as a pet, what would it be, and what would you name it? And I feel it was a fun question. So, you got some generic answers. One guy's like, oh, I want a lion, and I'm going to name it Mufasa or Simba or, all that stuff. And I was like, that's generic. Another guy had one that was kind of funny. He's like, yeah, dude, I want a condor-sized parrot. I was like, a condor-sized... I said, do you know how big a condor is? He's like, yeah, man, I'll just put a big rail on the roof. Dude can just hang out up there. I was like, what would you name him? He said, Condor. I was like, all right, I can get down with that. That's a pretty cool answer. So, eventually it comes around to me, and I really didn't have much of an answer, so I tried to be stupid. And I was like, well, dude, I would want to have a Sasquatch. And this one dude's like, why the hell would you want a Sasquatch, man? Those things can kill you. I was like, yeah, but I have the feeling that if I feed him and I don't try to hunt him down, maybe he'd be all right. Maybe he would just chill. I mean, I'd probably, he'd have to duck when he comes in the house. I hear those things are like 9 feet tall or some shit. I've seen pictures, apparently, of Sasquatches. So, what would you name it? And I was like, well, Harry, from Harry and the Hendersons, man. Let's keep it simple, And the guy's, eventually goes around. Now, the last guy that answered, this is the most amazing answer I have heard in my life, especially for this question. And this dude was dead serious. Now, let me paint the picture for you. The guy that answered this question, he's like 6'8", probably pushing 400 pounds, just this huge guy, but a gentle giant. Cool guy, laid back. Looked like a human grizzly bear, really, but he was very laid. He wasn't as hairy, but he didn't have as much fur on his body. But he was laid back, chill guy, and I see him over there really pondering this shit, like it's really going through his brain. And I'm like, all right, mate, yo, dude. I was like, what you got, man? What's your answer? Shit you not, this dude killed me. He killed me. He says, I want a penguin. I'm like, you want a penguin? I was like, dude, you're like almost 7 feet tall. What the hell are you gonna do with a penguin walking around the house? He goes, no, man, I really like penguins, man. I love penguins. He's like, I've called the DC Zoo, SeaWorld. He's like, I've really, San Diego. I've called all these places, man. It's gonna cost me about $2,500 to get this thing, and then I got to get certain permits to be able to have, that type of animal because it's an Arctic animal. And I'm like, wow, this guy's blowing me away, and he's dead serious. I'm like, holy shit, dude. He's like, yeah, dude. All I got to do is just buy a big ass steak freezer. Just saw a doggy door in it, put a heavy flap like restaurants have in their walk-ins. So if he wants to be cool, he can go in the steak freezer and be cool. If he wants to come hang out, he can come hang out. And I'm like, wow. He's like, and he just keeps going. He's like, yeah, and I can't have carpet or hardwood. I gotta have linoleum floors on the floor, so he can slide around on his belly and all that shit. And I'm like, wow, this guy's blowing me away. It's an amazing story. So then he's like, yeah, dude, I gotta just feed him sardines, shit like that. It's not that expensive. And I'm like, well, what on earth? I said, that's amazing. I said, well, what would you name this thing? And he said, Oswald Cobblepot. Now, for those of you that don't know who Oswald Cobblepot is, that's the penguin from the Batman comic books and movies. Blew me away. This guy's 6'8", he's like 380, huge guy, and he wants a fucking penguin of all the shit he can have in the world. I mean, I thought the Condor story was cool, and I thought I was all right with the Sasquatch thing. And he was like, nah, dude, penguin. He was like, hey, man, I tell you what. He said, I'll get the penguin, you get the Sasquatch. I'll fight the Sasquatch, and you fight the penguin. I bet we win.